The FBI now says they believe the man behind the deadly New Year Day attack in New Orleans worked alone. From his military background to online videos he posted hours before the attack, we're learning more about the alleged assailant. This afternoon, President Joe Biden addressed the latest on the investigation.
The attacker posted several videos just several hours before the attack, indicating his strong support for ISIS. Federal law enforcement and the intelligence community are actively investigating any foreign or domestic contacts and connections that could possibly be relevant to the attack.
Meanwhile, a truck explosion outside the Trump Hotel in Las Vegas is being investigated as a possible act of terrorism. What we're learning about the man behind the New Year's Day blast. We start tonight with CBS News reporter Kati Weis in New Orleans. Kati, thanks for being here. What more are you learning this evening on the ground in New Orleans?
Well, good afternoon or good evening, wherever you might be watching in the country tonight. I know a lot of people are very concerned about what's been going on here in the French Quarter. I'm standing about a block away from where the attack took place yesterday, just after 3 a.m. I was in this area when it happened and was able to speak with witnesses at the time, but now we're learning a lot more. We were able to learn, first of all, I was able to confirm first today among any news outlet that both police officers who were shot in this attack have been released from the hospital. They are home safe. And I am told also from my police sources that they are, quote, doing well, which is very exciting news, certainly amid a lot of heavy news for folks here in the Big Easy. Some other things that we're learning, as you can see behind me here at this intersection of Iberville and Royal Street, like I said, just a block away from Bourbon where the attack took place, you can see that there are several armed guards. You'll see a lot of these armed guards throughout the French Quarter tonight and probably for the next few weeks as well. I'm told that the state has released several resources through an executive order, including the National Guard. We've seen Homeland Security here. They have made this French Quarter basically on lockdown when it comes to security. Every single area, every single intersection you walk to, you'll see barricades like this. Extra protections to make sure that another attack doesn't come when we have so many other big sporting events upcoming.
Stay with us. Authorities, we now learn, have searched a Houston location linked to the attacker and his Airbnb in New Orleans. What more are you and CBS News colleagues learning about him?
Well, we know that the officials have actually obtained 3 different cell phones and 2 laptops from the attacker that belonged to the attacker, and they have been reviewing those, combing through those for more information about what his motives might have been. Also, something we learned from the FBI earlier today is that the attacker had actually posted 2 different videos on his social media accounts while he was on his way here to Louisiana to carry out the attack. So, and in those videos, one of those videos, he actually talked about how he had joined ISIS earlier this year, just before the summer, according to the FBI, and how he wanted the focus of his attack to be more on the fight between believers and non-believers. That is a quote, the war between believers and non-believers. So some very interesting evidence here about his motivations potentially for carrying out this attack. But we're going to continue to learn more and ask authorities for more information to better understand and get a full picture of what could have gone wrong here.
Kati Weis on the ground on this tragic story. Thank you for your reporting. We'll stay with you in the coming days. Meanwhile, the FBI does say the subject in the investigation into that Las Vegas truck explosion was a U.S. Army member. Officials say they're still waiting on conclusive DNA testing to determine that 37-year-old Matthew Livelsberger was the driver found inside the vehicle after the explosion, but they do say his military ID, passport, and credit cards were found inside the truck and have confirmed that that truck was rented to him. Let's turn now to CBS News senior national correspondent Charlie Daggett. Charlie, thank you for being here. What else are we learning from the military and your sources about this suspect?
Yeah, so Robert, we've learned he is or was a highly decorated Army Green Beret. He had 19 years of service. dating back to 2006, deployed multiple times to Afghanistan, other tough areas, like including Ukraine and the Congo. He earned 5 Bronze Stars, including one for valor, which is typically awarded for things like heroism in combat or courage under fire. He was still an active soldier, and he was on leave when the incident happened. As you mentioned, 37 years old. He was living in Colorado Springs, which is where he picked up the Cybertruck. That much we know. Now, some analysts have suggested that his level of expertise in handling explosives from those years of experience out in the field would have been far more advanced than the crude explosives and fireworks that were used in the blast.
The FBI, Charlie, said today there is, quote, no definitive link between this explosion and yesterday's New Orleans attack. What do you know about any possible similarities, if any? What are you learning?
Well, there is a definitive link. It's why you and I are speaking right now, former service members, right? Then there's the timings of the attacks, both of them taking place within hours of each other on New Year's Day. Both men rented their vehicles from the Turo car sharing app, which may have made it easier than like conventional car rental agencies. Both men, American-born, U.S. service members. Both spent time at Fort Bragg. That's what it was, now renamed Fort Liberty. And both men were deployed to Afghanistan, though not necessarily at the same time, back in 2009. But as you said, neither the FBI nor U.S. military officials we've spoken to have seen any kind of overlap between those two suspects. But I have to add here, that's not definitive. It hasn't been ruled out. They just haven't found anything.
Elon Musk posted online, the billionaire posted, that, quote, the evil knucklehead picked the wrong vehicle for a terrorist attack. Cybertruck actually contained the explosion and directed the blast upwards. Have officials shed any more light on the details of this explosion, this tragedy in Las Vegas?
Yeah, I mean, there might be something to that evil knucklehead statement. This afternoon at a press conference in Las Vegas, the Clarke County Sheriff said the force of the blast was largely contained to the inside of that steel-sided truck itself. And so it vented, in his words, he said it vented out and up and would have caused far more damage to the front of the hotel instead of being contained to the interior of the vehicle itself.
Charlie D'Agata, we appreciate your reporting, as always. Thank you.
Thanks, Robert.
Let's now bring in Colin P. Clarke. He's the Director of Research for the Soufan Group, a global intelligence and security consultancy. Thanks for being here. The New Orleans attack, as you know, is being investigated as an act of terrorism, while the Las Vegas Cybertruck explosion that took place in a Cybertruck is being investigated as a possible act of terrorism. What do you know about the difference, if any, between these attacks in terms of the nature of a terrorist attack and the investigations?
Thanks for having me. I think they're quite different. I mean, you and Charlie just talked about some of the similarities, but, the Las Vegas attack may very well be a suicide that was meant as some form of political protest. Other than the individual in the car that was killed, no one else was killed, to my knowledge. Whereas the New Orleans attack was clearly intended to kill the maximum amount of people, to maximize casualties, done with multiple layers of redundancy: the vehicle, firearm, and then improvised explosive devices, which failed to detonate.
What do you make of how law enforcement officials are determining what happened in New Orleans regarding terrorism, but taking a little bit more time, it seems, in Las Vegas?
Well, I think, the fact that there were videos posted by the New Orleans attacker, the fact that there was an Islamic State flag found attached to the vehicle, there's just more evidence, there's more data points suggesting what the motive was. Whereas in Las Vegas, I haven't seen any kind of a manifesto, any kind of video, any kind of recordings that have explained why this individual did what he did. Was it an anti-Trump, anti-Elon Musk act? Was it meant to serve some different purpose? And again, this is somebody that was in the special forces. Had he wanted to kill large numbers of people, I have no doubt that he could have. He chose not to.
A link between these incidents has not yet been identified. Charlie talked about some of the overlap in terms of just the kind of profile of the alleged assailants or people involved in these respective cases. When you look at both of these and you see the military backgrounds, what does that say, if anything, to you?
Well, I think we have to be fair and say that these were quite different military careers. The special forces officer involved in the Las Vegas attack was a five-time Bronze Star recipient, whereas the individual in New Orleans attack was in human resources and information technology. Not to denigrate his service at all. I think very different types of careers, very different types of capabilities that each of these individuals possessed.
What next? What are officials looking for in terms of any potential connections, any new clues? What do you expect to be potentially revealed in the coming days in terms of the scope of the investigations?
Yeah, so the authorities are doing the digital forensics right now, going through the electronic devices, likely of both individuals. Obviously, looking to see if they've communicated with each other in any way. I think for Jabbar, the New Orleans attacker, there's going to be a lot of emphasis on, was this an individual that was merely inspired by the Islamic State, or was he actually in touch with any Islamic State operatives overseas, meaning a different type of attack? We would call that, rather than ISIS inspired, we say he was cyber coached, or what we used to refer to as virtual entrepreneurs, where ISIS is identifying an individual and then kind of helping them select a target, helping them select a weapon, tactics, etc.
Tough story. Colin P. Clarke, thank you for your insights and for stopping by.